songs, let me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc, where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
But I do want to create a place where trust, I trust you, you trust me. And trust means you're going to share with me when it's not right. Trust means you're going to share with me when it is. I trust my parents, my kids trust their dad. My friends trust Matt. And I think that's important that you formulate that trust. And it's an emotional piggy bank.
All right, this is Craig LeBlanc live again. Made it safely back home to New Orleans from my Nashville trip. I went to a conference about content creators and media, and now that we're creating this media company for Parks and Recreation, I figure I'd really need to get trained up. So got a lot of great ideas to share with the team. But we have our special guest from Tulsa County, Oklahoma. Matt, how are you doing today?
Very good, Craig. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you on the show. I can't wait to go into all of your whole life experiences in Parks and Recreation. But before we get started, I wanted to give a special shout out to OutdoorLink. They have been one of our earliest sponsors that has supported us before we were almost like a concept of what we wanted to do to build the first media company for Parks and Recreation. But they help cities become smart cities. So if you've ever gotten that phone call at night because the coach left your lights on and the lady next to the baseball field, they're shining in her window and you have to get out or get your superintendent out to turn those off, OutdoorLink can turn the entire city off from your cell phone, from your laptop while you're on vacation at a beach. You can turn any field, any splash pad, any bathroom door lock or unlock. And so it just allows you to connect your entire city to a smart device or a desktop or an iPad or something. And they've been doing this for quite a while. So really, really good company. And I've actually used them with one of my other projects. So I'm going to play a promotion for them. And then also we have a growing list of vendors that want to pitch in and help us to build this media company. So if you're interested, or if you know a great vendor that has been serving your Parks and Rec department for a while and you think that they would make a good fit for us, please help me get in touch with them. We're kind of doing that the first quarter of this year. So I'll play these two promos and then we'll come right back and start our conversation with Matt.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where OutdoorLink comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. OutdoorLink's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Update digital displays in real time. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. And even run community or sponsorship campaigns on digital screens. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why OutdoorLink proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. OutdoorLink, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion Parks and Rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move Parks and Rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.
All right. Matt, I don't know if y'all have started to make any of y'all's parks, smart parks and connected and stuff like that, but it's just like magic when you can see 8 baseball fields turn on from someone's cell phone and they're on the other side of the planet. It's it's weird how all this internet connectivity is starting to come into the hardware of our park systems.
Yeah, very, very, very much.
Yeah. All right. So let's go back into your background, because you have like a unique background as far as how much time you spent with YMCA, and it seems like, man, if I spoke to 1,200 Parks and Rec professionals last year, I'd say at least a fifth of them had a strong YMCA background. But I think of all of them, I think you have the strongest YMCA background that I've ever heard come into Parks and Recreation. So maybe talk about, how you got into YMCA and then how that really prepared you for what you're doing today.
Yeah, Craig, absolutely. So, I grew up in a small town south of Tulsa called Okmulgee, town of about 12,000 people. And we had a local YMCA. And so I grew up as a Y kid, I learned early on that I was not great at basketball, but it was a safe place. I learned a lot about, a lot of opportunities. My first sports I played were at the YMCA, and was fortunate enough to play professional baseball, and was going to school at Oral Roberts at the time, finishing up my degree here in Tulsa, was playing professionally and had to get an internship. And so came back between my first and second year at pro ball, and basically walked into an internship at the YMCA, and had 240 hours that I basically did at no cost. They got no benefit other than, God, what a lifelong reward that I did get when it came to understanding what recreation really is and understanding the impact that we get to make on kids' lives. And so that really drove me to the Y. Thought, hey, I could coach, but at the same time, getting to work with kids was something that I felt like, folks had told me I was good at. So started running day camps, started running after school, made my way through, being an executive director, running multiple facilities as an executive director, being a district exec, chief program officer to our COO. And when I left the YMCA, the last position I held was a chief strategy officer for here in Tulsa. So really working on collaborations, partnerships, relationships, and really looking at the strategic plan and moving the strategic plan forward as well. Yeah. But yeah, 18 years at the YMCA, been with Tulsa County since September of 24. September of 24. So roughly 15 months here. At Tulsa County, loving every moment of it. But at the same time, I told folks the day I left the Y, kind of a going away type opportunity, I said, it's, the Y has prepared me for this. The Y has prepared me for a lot. And really what's happened is our community's prepared me for this through the relationships and partnerships and collaborations that I was able to create at the Y, as well as, looking at a membership model, youth development, things of that nature, social responsibility in regards to giving back. Really gave me an opportunity to come into a place like Tulsa County and hit the ground running and really look at how we can make an impact on all 750,000 residents here of Tulsa County through our parks as one of 4 major park systems here in Tulsa. So yeah. The Y definitely helped raise me as a kid, but the Y also helped mold me as a professional.
Yeah. Now, one thing that there's so many benefits to everybody kind of having their own little kingdom when they run a Parks and Rec department. But one of the downsides is you have like 12,000 different experiments going on, and sometimes there's really no unifying body that creates a consistent culture. But with the Y, you actually have that. So maybe, because since you're well versed in what's like the mission and vision of the Y, and then how is that kept unified across all the Ys across America?
Yeah, so when you look back at 1844 when the Y was founded in England, it was a place for white Christian males. and basically shipyards. You had a lot of places where alcohol and prostitution was arriving, and so guys would get off the ships, and that was what they found. And so for the Y movement to be founded in England as a place for young men, white Christian males, really, to find common space, was a founding principle, and really the mission being centered on the Christ principles. Then all of a sudden, I think you evolve for 175 years as an organization to a point of where the organization is really focused on the for all, still focused on healthy living, social responsibility, and youth development. And you see some YMCAs at a local level lift up faith at a higher level. But the for all is mission critical, I think, across the whole mission. And that's I think that's led so much into what we do at Tulsa County, having various park systems and various different parks that serve various different pockets of people, while creating access. And that's what the Y wants to do. The Y wants to create access in the communities they serve. You've got 2,000 plus YMCAs, some in towns of 10,000 people and some in towns of 750,000. So it really varies. But I think that when you look at the structure of the Y, a board of governance that includes people not just in Chicago, Illinois, but a board of governance that includes people from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Dallas, and San Francisco, and San Diego, and Sarasota, you name it. You do get that touch of what's going on across the nation in the movement. And I think the identity and brand of the Y is really important too. And I think that that's something that comes out of Chicago a lot, as you see, it's the identity. Having a national CEO that it's not necessarily it's a federated model, so nobody's telling you what to do. They definitely have things that you have to do to maintain the federation and be able to have that brand and be able to have the support you have from YUSA. But when it really comes down to it, you've got this local autonomy outside of that. And I think that, a local board of directors, that matters, so having that national presence at some local leaders, but also really having this local presence of having a board of directors that can pull in to advocate for you on a philanthropy standpoint, can advocate for you on a program, a connection standpoint, like, hey, you got this great program opportunity and we don't know anybody at this blank place. Does anybody know anybody? To looking for people that, bring something to the table, whether it be through medical relationships and partnerships, or that be through a lawyer, looking for some of these local leaders, as well as the everyday Joe that just wants to give back to their community. And so I think the Y having a top-down structure, really it's an umbrella, and the umbrella is there to protect the local Y and help the local Y be, maintain brand standards, maintain brand excellence. And so it's definitely culture driven for sure.
Yeah. Now, I've heard of many Ys partnering with their local city because a lot of times the city will inherit a piece of property and they just don't have the bandwidth to manage it.
Yep.
And so oftentimes YMCA will come in and say, hey, well, we'll run the whole thing turnkey, and you've already got the property and the funding for all that. And so you've got a building and a piece of property that's got stuff, but the Y runs the programming. Have you had any experience working directly from the Y side, working with cities?
Yeah, so I mean, it's city as well as school districts. I think you look across the Y movement, there's a lot of that. We here in Tulsa, when I was with the Y, relationships with the city of Owasso. Owasso is about 15 miles north of us. Owasso had the property, and you're 100% correct. They had the property, but didn't have the capital to build something at the magnitude that the Y could go fundraise for. Mm-hmm. So the Owasso YMCA is that kind of government slash private. There's private funding in there too. And then you start looking at programming, and all of a sudden you start touching some state funding with our DHS and our child care programs and things like that. So I think you definitely had seen that. I think one of the bigger things the time at the YMCA Greater Tulsa, and what the Y has really focused on here locally, is relationships with our local community college. Wichita has done a great job too. They've got a relationship with Wichita State, but looking for relationships with the local community college and looking at how, maybe campus rec isn't their business and they want to get more in the healthy living standpoint. And so from the healthy living phase of things, working with an organization that also gives you access, 14 YMCAs in Tulsa, 15 now, and to have access to all 15. And so as a college student who goes to school for a class on one side of town, but lives on the other, the benefit of having the Y in their community versus the benefit of using their campus rec center is much higher. So relationships there, relationships with 2 high schools as well, where there's YMCAs inside the high schools. So definitely seeing those partnerships and collaborations. But the city standpoint, Owasso has been one of those examples where I've seen it here locally, but you're seeing Ys across the whole movement. That's how they're building new buildings. They're building new buildings in relationships with third party entities, whether that be the city plus a developer. You're seeing Ys get built on the bottom 2 floors of downtown new housing, and the developers paying for the building and basically leasing property to the Y, so the Y can provide the mission of health and wellness while the developer still has a tenant, and his tenants inside couple hundred units have a place to work out.
Yeah. I remember I used to live in Pensacola, and they had a great deal where the entire family, and I have like a pile of children, and we would I would travel so much, but I had like a $75 a month, and it was good for the whole country. So anytime we would travel, I could go find my local Y and shower and go swimming and stuff like that. So it was just great to have. So is now that you're on the Parks and Rec side with the county, what are the differences in cultures that you see, or what are some of the cultural things that you have and why that you kind of brought over into the county park system? Yeah,
I think, I came into Tulsa County with I was the 4th parks director in 5 years, and followed behind the first person in that system was there for almost 30. So you had almost a 30-year park director, and then 2 parks directors within 4 years, and then me. So you had a lot of change. My time at the Y, indirectly, I'd, support almost 400 employees. And then coming to Tulsa County, indirectly, 130. I'm a really big believer in the energy bus. I think, you and I talked about that recently. The energy bus is really big. We as a system here at Tulsa County, I want people that want to be on the bus and call it what it is. And so being supported by an HR division at Tulsa County, being supported by our building operations teams, being supported by our engineering team that does our highways and bridges, that when we have needs in parks, we all need to be on the parks bus too. And that was really a big, at the Y, everything was so managed in-house in one compartment, right? Like I didn't have to, if we wanted to do a parking lot project, we went and did a parking lot project. I didn't have to, we went and bid it and just did it. Maybe a 3-bid process, but the 3-bid process, or, in Oklahoma, it's called Title 61, the procurement process here, it takes some time. And so the culture of, I have to have everybody inside our headquarters here at Tulsa County. I have to have everybody understand the direction Parks is going. Have to include them in the process and not exclude them, so that they're aware of where we're heading and what needs may be there now, but also what's coming. What is Matt's vision? What's our board of county commissioners? I have 3 elected officials that I report to, and those 3 elected officials are phenomenal at listening, at also being a sounding board and saying when a constituent reaches out, letting us get right on it and address something if it needs to be addressed. Whereas at the Y, you had I had our CEO as a direct report. You had 1 person, and you come over here and you got 3. And I joked in my interviews, like, well, the reality of that is I've had multiple points of influence my whole Y career, because I got a chief development officer that wants us to raise more money so we can provide more services. And me as the COO, focused on programming and operations, going to our our CFO saying, hey, here's our winners and losers. And our CEO saying, here's the mission, here's the purpose, here's our strategic plan. And all 3 may not necessarily align at any given time, which is not too much different than the county commissioners. You got county commissioners that are phenomenal with phenomenal deputies, but each different district has a very different need. And so being able to build a culture that is a culture that's nimble, yet at the same time isn't easily distracted, is important to me. And I think that's, that energy bus concept, like I said, I've spent, it started, we do monthly bus stops. Did my first monthly bus stop when I got here and really outlined where we're heading. We do a manager's bus stop And the next month we do an all staff bus stop. So my parks managers will meet, we meet frequently, but we'll have a monthly meeting where that monthly meeting is going to be focused on, objectives and key results, as well as use something from Juliet Funk that's a big white space person. So leaning into what I call my yellow list. That yellow notebook that everybody uses, but it's all online for me, using Planner and some other documents as a means to kind of keep us strategically moving forward on some plans, some programs as well. So trying to make sure the culture is transparent. And I think that's really important for Tulsa County. We are the only county park system in the whole state of Oklahoma. There is no other park system that's a county park system. And so the question is always asked is Tulsa County Parks necessary? Because it's not statutorily required. And for me, the answer is yes. I think everybody in rec would say yes, yes, yes. But I'm frequently providing what's on that yellow list to the community and what's on that yellow list to the commissioners, so that at any given time, everybody transparently can see where parks is headed. So for me, it's a lot about transparency. It's a culture of transparency, because that's what in Tulsa, Oklahoma, for 750,000 residents, that's what our county strives to be, is a very transparent form of government. And parks gets to then therefore be a very transparent park system.
Yeah. So now, how do you define, if somebody just said define the word culture in your organization, and then after that, maybe we can give some examples of poor culture and how that can kind of drag you down, and then what is good culture and how you would want to build that up. So first off, what's your definition of culture?
Yeah. I'm going to say something that's probably, it's I see you and you're noticed. And that comes with, I also hear you. And then there's execution. And so I want to be, and it's trust. Culture is trust. Do I trust? I mean, in my opinion, if I've got great culture, I've got high trust. If I have awful culture, I probably have extremely low trust. And so when I look at our obligation to our community and obligation to our parks team, I see you. So I acknowledge when you do the excellence that you perform every day. We're going to acknowledge that. So we do bus driver awards. We literally have acrylic buses that we give out, that each park, when you got somebody that's going above and beyond, that's driving that bus. I see you. I want to acknowledge you. I hear you is important, a lot. It's not listening to people complain. It's as the parks director or as a superintendent of operations or any of our other superintendents, it's being accessible. And so when somebody has a plan or somebody has an idea, like, yes, let's sit down and talk about it. Let's look at it. Or somebody has a challenge, that key result's not making sense right now. That thing on the yellow list, it's been there for 6 months and we haven't moved on it. Why haven't we moved on it? It's being willing to lead up at the same time. And so I think being seen and being heard in a culture that's we're not always safe. So to say you want to create a safe place is challenging. I mean, the workplace is not always a safe place in regards to, I can say what I want to say with no consequence or anything like that. But I do want to create a place where trust, I trust you, you trust me. And trust means you're going to share with me when it's not right. Trust means you're going to share with me when it is. I trust my parents, my kids trust their dad. My wife trusts her husband, my friends trust Matt. And I think that's important that you formulate that trust. And it's an emotional piggy bank is the way I see it. It's deposits and withdrawals. So if we can build a culture by depositing, and over time, we end up being an investment firm versus a bank that's taking and putting cash in, cash out, and making withdrawals. I think for me, culture's really the center of trust, and it comes from being heard and being seen, and saying I see you and saying I hear you.
Now, you use a term called leading up. Can you define that a little bit more? Say a little more about that.
Yeah, I think that's we're really, as leaders, and I say that as leaders in the movement, as people, whether that be a program director or a coordinator, a brand new lifeguard, we have to be willing to share with those that supervise us. And we have to be willing, we have to learn how to have those conversations. And I can tell you, it's not something that many people teach. You know, we build my culture here at Tulsa County with my, you know, my communications director and I have this conversation a lot. We've got a lot of ideas, a lot of conversations, but we may not necessarily, you may come in with an idea and you may walk out with me saying that's not a good idea.
Mm.
And that doesn't, you know, don't stop coming. Don't stop pressing. Because that's a relationship we want to have. You're on the team for a reason, and you bring skills and knowledges and resources to the team. And it just may be the thing that I don't see the same way. So don't let that stop you from asking the questions, and from a manager to a subordinate, or a subordinate to a manager, not being willing to have those conversations, like I said, out of trust. And that's, you got to build it. Day one, you don't know how to lead up. You know, you got a brand new lifeguard. They want the person, tell me where to go, tell me how to do my job. But if that person ever wants to excel at anything beyond being a lifeguard, become a pool manager, become an aquatics director, they've got to learn how to lead up, because the CEO at the end of the day is making a decision from a very, you know, at the end zone, when we're at the 5 on the other end. Mm-hmm. You know, and the optics may not be the same thing. So if I'm not willing to learn how to have conversations that are difficult with leaders and be present in the same room and put myself at that table, it's going to be a little challenging in your career, because it's going to be a lot of yeses. Mm-hmm. And we don't always have to say yes. You know, I'm unapologetically committed to saying no in 2026. I'm going to say no more often, because personally, professionally, I owe it to myself, and I owe it to my community to take a very hard look at how I perform as a parent, as a husband, as a friend, and also as a parks director. Yeah. And I'm again, I think unapologetically knows the word for 2026.
Right. I remember a business mentor of mine. He says, Craig, sometimes you say yes too much, and anytime you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, because you didn't get a 25th hour of your day. You don't get any more time to do things. So, you know, how do you kind of train yourself to, when you say yes, all right, what else on my list am I going to neglect because I just committed myself to some new task?
Yeah. I mean, Craig, that is spot on. What I think most young professionals, and I say this, I think most young professionals they struggle with it in 2026, where everybody's vying for our time. So not just the people, social media is vying for our time. Entertainment's vying for our time. Our cash vies for our time. And everybody's looking for a little bit more. And so I think what you just said, that the individual said to you, the mentor there, I think that's spot on. You're right. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And so I think goals are important: personal goals, professional goals. We just had a remarkable program last week led by a young lady that's in our arts and culture head. Her name's Martha Highlands, and she does vision boarding. And so we had, you know, a huge chunk of people show up for vision boarding and kind of sit down and talk about their vision and personal goals for 26. It's not about a New Year's resolution. It's where you see yourself. If you can't see yourself there, you know, then who can? And so if Craig takes my time and I give Craig all my time, Craig will take it. Yeah. That's how this world works. Yeah. And so you gotta have a plan. You gotta have an idea as to where you really want to invest. And it goes back to that piggy bank. It's put money, you know, you can't just put money in all the time. Yeah. You know, you can't invest in other people and not pull out and do something for yourself. Yeah. And so I think when we look at the ability to say no is a pretty important thing. But all the while, what you're asking is, it's the ability to stay focused. Yeah. And be focused on something.
Yeah, because I think Parks and Rec are notorious for overcommitting themselves, because they really do have a great mission of building community, leaving a legacy, helping those that are kind of less fortunate to have access to our programming. And the next thing you know, we haven't had a weekend or a holiday, and we're just working crazy hours. And it's just because we never kind of took care of ourselves, and we don't want to disappoint people. But here we are, we've said we've overcommitted ourselves. Now we're going to let everybody down. What do you kind of do personally to try to keep yourself in check and not just make sure that you've said yes to everybody professionally and at the same time said no to your whole family?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I mean, the pandemic really was a reset for me. Coming as a Y professional and running and running and running and chasing membership, chasing people served, chasing the philanthropy side, out of excellence. Like as a former professional athlete, I don't want to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably my biggest challenge. And I got the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden I was like, well, nobody's at work. We're shut down for 6 weeks here in Tulsa, which was far less than most people across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally had time to sit down and go, what am I, now that I go home at 5 every day versus 6:30 or 7, and now that I don't get on my computer every night once the kids go to bed, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I spend a lot of time in the woods. I love to hunt and fish. I love baseball, obviously, and softball. And so I do a ton with Rotary. And so I think really for me, it was saying no to a few things and really dedicating myself to those things, my family, baseball with my kids, softball, and finding those things that really do bring me joy. I mean, joy is it's a feeling. It's not, you can't bottle it.
Mm-hmm.
But finding those things that really intrinsically make me happy. I also will say pre-pandemic, I mean, I mentioned Juliet Funk earlier, heard her speak in California at a Y conference, and she started talking about white space and the importance of really just having it's that time between meetings, right? So like no jokes like here, like I've got Craig and then I've got 30 minutes and then I've got another meeting, a gap at like 3:00, right? So I've got all these, it's the white space in my calendar, but it's also my white space in my life. What do I do in my car? Do I get on the phone and talk the whole way, 30-minute commute, and call people that I didn't get to call throughout the day? Or do I just get in the car and try to and use music or use a podcast as a means to kind of decompress and just become a normal person before I walk into my house, versus being Matt, the dad that's also on his phone being the Y guy, and now being on his phone being the parks director. But really finding a way to shut off was important for me. So using my car ride home and using my white space, putting more white space on my calendar. Like I'm not going to let my administrative assistant can't book all 40 hours of my work week.
Right.
Which turns into 60, but you can't book 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. I can't, I won't be functional. I will be distracted. And so I think for me, it was really important to have white space. It's really important not to physically have the white space on my calendar, but even more so, when I was at the Y, I would go sit at a park and take a notebook, leave my phone in the car, and just go sit down and think about what's that next big idea? What's that next big thing? Not address something that's current. And so I think that white space is really important to have, both professionally and personally, where it's just a moment to kick your feet up and relax, not do anything, but to think, allow your brain to do what it wants to do, not be distracted by what's on your phone, not be distracted by meeting to meeting to meeting where I don't fully get to digest the meeting I just had, and think about strategy and think about the purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm guilty of that myself. I know for me, if you get an hour of me in the morning, that hour is worth like 2 hours if you get me in the evening, because I start to just like get exhausted. So I've got to put kind of my stuff that doesn't require too much creativity and brain function in the evening, kind of like just work I got to pull through. But if I'm really trying to sit down and think a lot, create a lot, I have to schedule that in the morning. Is there anything like that in your life where you're like, these are not all hours are equal, and so I have to make sure I put my important stuff at a certain point in my day?
Yeah. I get working in this building. I mean, our parks departments, we're in a building with 500 plus employees, for sheriff's department all the way, to our elected officials. Everybody, first day of work, I showed up at Tulsa County. And I get, I'm a person that shows up. I mean, when I show up, I get out of bed, I get ready, I come. There's not a set time I have to show up at the Y. So there wasn't I was typically the person turning on the lights, and I literally badged in because my badge access work. I badged in and it's like 6:45. I drop my kid off at football practice, and it's like for middle school, it's like 6:45, and like there's nobody here. Well, of course, it's because the county building opens at 8. Even today, there's many days where I'm probably, you know, there's a handful of us that are here well in advance of that. I am the most productive at that time.
Yeah.
And frankly, because I want that culture of you're heard and you're seen, and I want that culture of that energy bus, and I want people to approach me. I want people to have conversations. I want to have conversations to build that piggy bank up so that when I need something from somebody in a different department, I've got the investment made to where they go, yes, I understand Matt's plan. Yes, I understand what Matt needs. And you know what? I like Matt versus like this guy in parks, like the parks director. They don't know Matt. They just know that he needs help, and they're being told to help him. So how invested are they really in helping me get where I want to get? So I would say for me, if you can hit that 6:30, 8 a.m. time frame for me, I can churn and burn like nobody's business when it comes to task-driven work. However, I get to 3 o'clock, you might very well, on some days, if I'm not as productive in the office, I'm more productive going in again, getting that white space and going grabbing a piece of paper, even some days go grab my laptop and go sit out and go sit at the edge of the golf course or go sit at the edge of a park. Throw my headphones in and just kind of sit down and do it. So I'm probably better bookending it. But if it's a task driven function, I'm churning and burning early. If it's a deep, you need Matt to plan something. You need Matt to plan it between 3 and 5, because and it probably doesn't need to be inside of 4 walls. It needs to be somewhere and if it is 4 walls, it's not at Tulsa County, or it's not at the YMCA. I spent a lot of time at a lot of different parks when I was at the Y, that had indoor spaces or a library, not pen areas, not places with food, but just places where I could, get some quiet and just kind of be in my own head.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So we blew right past the halfway point. But I wanted to promote, and I want to go deep into this energy bus, because I know there's just so much great stuff there. But before we do that, I want to promote 2 shows that we have. We have our Young Professionals Network show, which is now every Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern. That's run by our interns. And then we also have the Athletes Commute, which is a really cool concept by Jordan Zift out in California, where they go and give like the car ride to practice or to the game and understand how these female professional athletes prepare for the game. And she just really gets some good behind the scenes interviews. So we have those 2 shows. And then also, I don't have a promo for this yet. It should be coming out in the next few weeks for our On the Front Line Military Rec show. That's every Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. So I'll play the promo for the Athletes Commute and the YPN show, and then we'll come back and talk more about this energy bus with Matt.
Before the game, before the lights, before the pressure, there's a moment most people never see. Welcome to the Athletes Commute, a podcast distributed by DPRS Media Network, co-produced by Her Sports, and hosted by Jordan Zift. Each episode, Jordan gets behind the wheel, driving athletes to practice, to training, to game day, while getting to know who they really are beyond the jersey. The mindset, the grind, the sacrifices, the moments no one talks about. No scripts, no filters, just real conversations in real motion. Because every athlete has a journey, and every journey deserves to be heard. This is the Athletes Commute. Buckle up.
On the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we bring you the real stories of tomorrow's professionals, people shaping the future, one idea at a time. Meet the very first DPRS interns to officially host their own segment, Aidan Tierney and Michael Morrow. With curiosity, passion, and a fresh perspective, they're stepping into the spotlight to lead meaningful conversations with today's rising leaders. The Young Professionals Network takes you inside the journeys, challenges, and major wins of young individuals making their mark across industries. From first jobs to bold ventures, every story fuels growth, ambition, and innovation. Each episode brings real conversations, fresh perspectives, and impactful insights created to motivate the next generation of professionals. Whether you're just starting out, exploring new paths, or figuring out your next move. Tune in to the Young Professionals Network every Thursday at 5 p.m. only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Don't miss it, because your next big idea might be one story away.
All right, so let's start with what is the Energy Bus? How did you discover? Is that like a book, or and then we can go into what it means?
Yeah. Yeah. So it is a book. So John Gordon is the author. And really I found it, probably, well, I don't know, 10 years ago. I mean, it's been out for a while. It's not new by any stretch. And it's finding it, it really, to me, resonated because it is culture. I mean, there's 10 rules to the bus. And the book is about basically a gentleman that finds his way, needing a ride, and gets on a city bus, and the city bus driver has the rules. And he ends up taking the bus multiple days, multiple times. And she kind of walks him through the rules of the Energy Bus.
Hmm. Now, what are some of the rules of the Energy Bus?
Yeah, so so the rules. I mean, you got basically there's 10 rules, and those rules are, you're the driver of your own bus. I think I mentioned that. Like, you're in control. Like you said it. Like, you're in control of your own bus. My big one's no energy vampires. When I got to Tulsa County, I mean, like, there's some people just suck it out of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's just the nature and notion of, like, there are absolutely some moments where you come across a person and you're like, that's not the culture.
Oh, we may have lost Matt due to a connection issue. We'll see if we can get it back on. While I've got him, hopefully we can get him back. I'd like to talk a little bit more about the conventions that we have coming up. So we will be going to California. We'll be going to Illinois. So if you are attending the Illinois Parks and Rec State Convention in Chicago coming up at the end of the month, we will be partnering with Amelia, which is a great software company that helps Parks and Rec, manage all their data flowing into their system, whether it be through summer camp registration or all the sports that they manage, all the programming. And so they really have a whole suite of stuff that they do. So I'm really happy to bring them on as a sponsor. And we're also going to be creating some content with them about software and Parks and Rec, because software is such a huge thing. It's such a great efficiency game, but sometimes it can just be daunting learning a new software and onboarding people and then using the software and then teaching the entire staff how to use it. So we wanted to create a few episodes around that. And so we'll be doing that. We'll be doing that at the end of the month. Let me see if I got Matt back on. There we go. All right, we got you back. Can you hear me?
No, gosh, sorry.
All right. So what were we talking about as far as energy vampires?
Yeah, so just, I think the energy vampires as the whole, I mean, it's, you come into a culture, and I think if you come into a new company, or you come into, you look at your team today, I think you could tell you who your energy vampires are. It's not a hidden secret. Like, there's some people that, man, if I'm an energy vampire and Craig's like, I do not want to talk to Matt. Like, this dude just he sucks it out of the whole room. He can take it out of me. He can take it out of whoever, right? And so removing those energy vampires, honestly, was a big focus of mine. And not necessarily that there were problems with people. It was having those conversations. Like, here is the culture. The energy bus is the culture. And some of those energy vampires had to identify for themselves that that's who they were. And some we had to tell that's who they were. Enthusiasm's real big. And then filling the tank. And so for me, filling the tank was important because here's this opportunity, frankly, to use these bus stops once a month to fill the tank.
Mm-hmm.
So we can fill the tanks of those team members every month at minimum for the whole department. Mm-hmm. All the while, on a daily basis, again, I see you, I notice you, I hear you. when we engage and interact with those team members, filling their tank along the way and building a culture of deposits versus withdrawals. And the last thing is like it's have fun and enjoy the ride. That's the last rule of the energy bus. And every agenda that comes out of Tulsa County Parks is have fun and enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be fun. Recreation's supposed to be fun. It's a choice. People make a choice where they're employed. And what a blessing to be able to work in the venues that we work in and provide the services we provide on a daily basis and have fun.
Yeah. Now, it reminds me of a book that Jim Collins wrote called Good to Great. Really great book. If you're ever in business, or actually any institution, should really read that book. But there's a chapter called, I'm not sure of the title, but essentially it says you have to get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off the bus. And this last part, get the right people in the right seats. And the greatest example is if you've got somebody that's really good at bookkeeping and spreadsheets and numbers and accounting, and you're like, hey, I think you'd be good at sales. You can imagine how an accountant maybe might not have the soft or the social skills or even the desire to do it. Or imagine putting your social butterfly in charge of accounting. They would just be, maybe they're the right people, they belong on the bus, but they're just totally in the wrong seats. And maybe that's what's making them these energy vampires, is they just don't like the job they've been given. Have you had any of that come on where you had a good person, but they were just in the wrong seat? They were doing the wrong job.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 100%. I can't think of a time in my career where I've made a change in position or a change, from the Y to the county, where I didn't interact with that.
Yeah. Okay. So any last words on the energy bus before we move on to our next one?
No,
Okay.
no, I think I'll be honest with you. It's a great read. It's a quick read.
Yeah. All right. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about philanthropy because philanthropy is taken to one of the highest levels in Tulsa. And I'm not sure where that comes from, or where did that culture come from of just, they really have, the local community is huge into giving back. Is there a certain person or organization that started that? And then where is that today?
Yeah, I think when you look at philanthropy in Tulsa, Tulsa, my understanding is Tulsa has the second largest community foundation in the nation. And as a part of that, it's really centered at the heart of the George Kaiser Family Foundation. And Tulsa historically has had a lot of foundations, not always the largest foundations, but a lot of foundations. And so I think in the past 30 plus years, the George Kaiser Family Foundation is a huge part of that, really big part of that. When you look at what we're doing in our parks with some private dollars as well, philanthropy is a huge part of that. When you look at how our facilities and our assets across the city.
Nope, might have lost Matt again. Having some technical issues. That's okay. All right, so I'll fall back on the convention. So if you are in going to the state of Illinois, hold on, might have him back again. Hold on, let me see if I can kick the other one off real quick.
You got me.
See ya. All right. Okay, so go ahead. All right, can you hear me okay now? Oh, well, let's see. You still having trouble hearing me?
Yeah.
Well, let's see.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, are we back now? Well, let's see. Hold on. I'll try to
You got me?
see. Yeah, I can hear you fine now. Well, shoot. And I wanted to hear more about the philanthropy thing. Let me see if I can. Let me see. I'm going to send him in the private chat. Maybe this is definitely a live performance here. Maybe exit and come back in. All right, we'll see if we can get him back on. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, good. So you can hear us now. Yeah. Tell us more about the philanthropy side of your department and the city culture and how that plays out. Oh, lost again. Oh well, feels like one of these Mondays where the technical stuff just collapses. Anyway, all right. So back to the Illinois conference. So this is shoot, I forget what number we're on, but we're kind of getting pretty good at this. So what we're going to do with the Illinois State Conference, I think we're going to have about 30 time slots, and we're going to be, for the first time, we're going to be airing our show from the vendor hall. I think, like most, we only have about 2 days in the vendor hall, and then from there, hold on, let's see if we get Matt back. Did that help? Or we're still lost?
Yep.
Okay. You want to go ahead and finish up? Yeah, I can hear you. You're good. Why don't you go ahead and finish talking a little bit more about?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, so Tulsa's been blessed. I mean, really blessed with the George Kaiser Family Foundation, as well as, like, we've got a gentleman, a Case Family Foundation, that has done remarkable work for Tulsa County here with us. We just opened in April, $6 million tennis facility. We're USTA Facility of the Year here in Tulsa in 24-25. We got 6 indoor courts, and that philanthropy allowed us to add 3 more indoors. And so I think that philanthropy is a significant part of the bloodline of Tulsa, the influence of Tulsa, and Tulsa, frankly, just wouldn't be what it is today without the phenomenal partners that our philanthropy provides. Great United Way as well.
Yeah. Now, for those that don't know, tell us about what's going on in Tulsa, because it is like a boom town recently. There's so much going on with the culture, the arts, the downtown is exploding, even the movie industry, which I was kind of unaware of. So if you haven't been to Tulsa, what's something you could say about the what's happening right now in Tulsa? Oh. No, all right. So we're just going to keep going back and forth between me telling you all about the Illinois State Conference and trying to get Matt's technical issues going. All right. So we'll have 30 live shows from we'll do 2 days at the vendor hall. And hold on, let's see if we can get Matt back. All right. Any luck on that one? How about now? Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so tell us what's going on in Tulsa.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a really, Tulsa's at the epicenter of a lot. I think you mentioned the movie side of things. I mean, you got movies being shot in Tulsa, TV shows being shot in Tulsa, the arts and culture, musically, giant event center, the BOK Center here in Tulsa, any big musical act that goes to any other major cities coming through. But I think you've got a community that really has. Ethan Hawke shared recently he's shooting the Lowdown here on FX and like Hulu, and he shared, he basically moved his family out here while he was shooting, and his kids went to school here, and he loved it. And now you've got, like, he was like Tulsa of the Year for like 2025. I mean, you got people like that are coming here and having the experiences they had. Sylvester Stallone with Tulsa King, things of that nature. Just some really remarkable opportunities where these people are getting to see Tulsa, touch Tulsa from an arts and culture standpoint, entertainment standpoint, and just loving what's here. I think the vibe is great. The people are great. You still get a yes or no, sir, yes, ma'am, no.
Oh no, I kicked off again. All right, so back to Illinois. So what we have, so we'll do 2 days in the vendor hall, and then we're going to do one, I think, out in the community area. So if you are going, I think with Amelia, we're going to partner with them to do about 8 shows. So that leaves us about 22-ish slots open. So I'm going to start reaching out to all of my Illinois people to come back onto the show and tell us. So we've had a lot of people from Illinois. For those who don't know, Illinois does a great job with Parks and Recreation. I'd say it's probably some of the most well-funded Parks and Rec communities across America. See if we get Matt back on. Any luck, Matt? How about now? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Still cutting out. I've tried flipping over to cell. I've tried pulling off the Wi-Fi, everything. So
yeah.
Kind of weird.
Anything else? So you want to finish what you were saying about Tulsa?
Yeah, I mean, I just think Tulsa is one of those places that's become a place that people are moving to. The cost of living is great. Again, recreation is great. There's so many opportunities for parks. You got multiple park systems. I mean, we do a whole, you can do story upon story about the park systems in Tulsa, the trail systems in Tulsa that aren't Tulsa County, the city of Tulsa, river parks, Sand Springs parks, Broken Arrow parks. I mean, we got so many parks that make up this, that serve the 750,000 people. I think it's almost like making the perfect cocktail. Like it's just the right blend of everything. And Tulsa has that. Religious, culturally, you name it. You've got a really good mix of everything here right now in Tulsa County.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so as we're coming to the end of the show, I have a question for you from one of our previous guests. It's kind of a tradition where you get to come up with a question for my next guest, but my previous guest left you a question, and this comes from let's see, Julie Garrettson over at Plant City, Florida. She's over in the big Orlando metro area. But her question to you is, this is a fun question. If you could have a dinner with 4 people, dead or alive, so people from the past that have already gone, or maybe somebody today, who would you invite to that dinner and why?
That's a good one. Well, my favorite, as a baseball guy, I think somebody baseball related has to have a seat at the table. So I'm gonna go with probably Nolan Ryan, big Rangers fan. So I'm gonna have to go with that. Second, I think there's an opportunity. Big Metallica fan, so probably James Hetfield from Metallica. I think would be one. And frankly, probably the last 2 seats would be. I'm going to say both my grandparents, both my grandpas, because both my grandpas passed away before I was a father, and I think getting an opportunity to sit down with them at the same time would be important.
Fantastic. That's a great answer. So, all right. So what question would you like to leave for my next guest? Let's see if we can get it back on here. Well, I think we're setting a record on the on the. This is just, you know what it is. For those of you that don't know, I think Verizon and AT&T are having like huge glitches. My phone wasn't working while I was at the airport in Nashville, and neither was my daughter's or Sherry's. So hopefully we can get back on for this one, just to kind of close it out. We're getting so close to finishing. All right. So what question would you like to leave for my next guest?
Yeah, I think if you could be a piece of playground equipment, what would you be and why?
Oh, I love that one. Okay, so I got to get your answer to this one. What playground equipment would you like to be?
Man, honestly, it's the swing. It's got its highs and lows, and everybody likes to swing. Very rarely do you walk past a playground and there's not somebody on a swing set. And so I think it's a swing.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on today. And while I got you here, anything to be said about y'all's state convention? Are you attending that one? Or have you already had it for the year, or when is that one coming up?
Sorry, cut out. What was that?
The state convention, the Oklahoma Parks and Rec Association. Is that something you attend? And
yeah, so ORPS. Yeah, ORPS was back in October.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ORPS for Oklahoma is typically October, September. So we had it back in October. Had a great experience here in Tulsa, and next year we're in southern Oklahoma. I think Durant.
Oh, Durant. I know I know the people from Durant. It's good. It's a good little. They got a lot going on over there in Durant. Well, Matt, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Sorry about the technical glitches, but appreciate it. And hopefully one day I can attend y'all state association and do this live. But all right. So I think it looks like our internet's kind of crashing on us, but really appreciate you. Thank you for coming today. Take care. All right. So I was really excited to get Matt on because of his experience with the YMCA. It just seems like the Y is such a great place to be cultivated as a future Parks and Rec professional. And I see so many Ys and cities working together as finding partnerships to be able to run these facilities and offer programming. So I really like that Matt was able to come on and help us give a deep dive into the culture of the Y. All right, so that's all I have for y'all today. Again, we will be attending the State Conference of Illinois at the end of the month. So if you're going to that, I will be reaching out to all of my previous guests from the great state of Illinois and asking them to come onto the show for like 15 to 20 minutes and tell us a little bit about how the convention's going, especially if you're a speaker. So if you're a speaker and you've got a session at the Parks and Rec Convention coming up in Chicago, I would love for you to come maybe give us a little highlight about what you're going to be talking about. It could even be after and kind of share that with the country, because there's so many good things and so many breakout sessions that I would love to share with the rest of the country. So I will be reaching out probably starting next week and trying to fill up that calendar, and hopefully we'll have it all full like we did at Georgia and a lot of the other state conventions we've been at. And so be looking for that. And we won't be hosting our regularly scheduled show except for like the weekly shows. We'll still be doing those, but everything else is going to be put on pause while we're at Illinois and California and a lot of the other state conventions that we're going to. So hopefully we can get y'all on there and do probably about 30 live shows from here in a couple of weeks from Chicago. So looking forward to that. That's all I have for y'all today. Hope everybody's having a great 2026. Looking forward to an awesome 2026 here with the Daily Parks and Rec Show and DPRS Media Company. Thank y'all for all the love and support, and stay tuned. In about 23 minutes, we'll be kicking off the Youth Sports Mastery Show. Going to be a great show with Aaron Locks. So that's here in about 20 minutes. We'll see y'all there in a bit. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.
Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.